chatting with Dr. Franchell Hamilton, MD, board certified bariatric surgeon, consultant speaker, and founder of NeuroSwitch Weight Loss, which helps to transform lives with treatments ranging from bariatric surgery and medical weight loss to hormone therapy, and author of the recently published Curiosity is the Best Weight Loss Medicine, Observations from a Bariatric Surgeon. How are you today?
I am doing great. Thank you so much.
Of course, I'm so happy that you're here to chat with us. So today we are talking about the American diet epidemic. So when someone says those words, right, what are we referring to?
So when we're referring to the American diet epidemic, essentially we are now living in an era where the food we are eating is causing all of these epidemic problems that we're seeing, such as heart disease, hypertension, diabetes, and obesity, all of which are epidemics. And so that's what I'm referring to when I say the American diet epidemic.
Absolutely. So we are talking more of the American diet. So like when we say that, right, and I'm guilty of this, I'll be very honest. Are we talking the processed foods? Are we talking the kind of like the easy go-to stuff? Like what exactly is harming us?
Yeah, so it's actually the combination of things. So just to throw some stats out there, our diet is related to several deaths now in the US. So people need to start taking this seriously. Everybody remembers the smoking era. Well, now the diet is actually causing more deaths than did smoking. And so the same way as Americans, the government put all these ads out to warn us about the effects of smoking on our health, we also need to do the same thing when it comes to our diet. So it's all of this processed food that we're eating. Yes, of course, from all the fast foods now that are on every corner, if not multiple corners. And then not only that, but just the artificial sweeteners that's in all the drinks, the processed meats that become in our deli foods, our sandwiches. It's literally everything, almost everything.
Wow. So would this also be why there's so many Americans that die from heart disease alone? Is this sort of why this is happening?
Yes. So another interesting statistic, Paulina, 900 people die a day from heart disease. And these people specifically has been linked to a poor diet. 900 people a day. And this is from a poor diet. So there's other people, obviously, that have other reasons that may pass away from cardiovascular disease, but such a huge portion each day. And that's purely linked to a poor diet. I mean, it's overwhelming. I think people need to realize a little bit more what's going into their body and how it's affecting their body and all of these medical conditions.
Absolutely. And what about obesity too? I mean, from what I've read, it's become the third global killer among lifestyle diseases. Is this something that's grown over the years? Has it always been?
Yes, of course. Absolutely. So obesity is also an epidemic range, right? So epidemic means we have when the majority or a large portion of the population has the disease, and it becomes almost like a problem that needs to be addressed on a more government level. And so obesity is an epidemic along with cardiovascular disease. And it used to be just an American problem. It started here in the US, but now it's a global problem. For this now to be the third ranked global killer just from obesity, that means around the world. And it's all can be related to the food that we're eating. We started in the Industrial Revolution, right? We needed to make cheap, quick food when we were all going to war probably 100 years ago now. And the problem is the way those foods were packaged, the way those to be able to last has spread globally, and it's causing and wreaking havoc on our bodies, causing inflammation, causing insulin resistance, causing obesity, all of the things above. And now pediatric obesity is also, which is relatively new, at epidemic rates. And that occurred about 2 years ago.
Wow, 2 years ago.
Yep.
I did not expect you to say that. I mean, no, it is absolutely frightening. And like I mentioned, so many of us are just so guilty of indulging and kind of making these processed foods our go-to more than It's easier, it's cheaper. So
Mhm.
kind of to bounce off of that and to play devil's advocate a little bit, as you know, doctor, right now there's a lot going on in the world, including good old inflation, right?
Yes,
So groceries have like the amount of money people are spending on groceries
doubled and tripled.
it's insane. I can't even describe the insanity, and I notice it to myself every time I go.
Mhm.
What kind of advice can you give us so that us, the consumers, us, the people who are trying to live a healthier lifestyle and eat better quality food? How can we sort of manage that by getting better food, but also not trying to break the budget?
Yeah, exactly. No, I 100% agree. We all feel it, right? I'm also feeling the effects of that. And so, believe it or not, people who can, the first thing I would say is people start gardening, almost going back to our farming roots, which probably none of us in this era have ever done. But there is so much equipment now, even if you don't have a yard and can do it outside. There's a lot of these really unique indoor gardening contraptions where we can start growing a lot of our own food, and it can be small. You would be surprised how a couple of seeds of tomatoes, lettuce, or whatever you decide can feed your family for months and months. So that's kind of the first thing that I would recommend if people can. It's really cost effective because you can buy tomato seeds for $1.50 and get several plants from that, for example. So I would look into that if you have an interest and if you have a green thumb, or even if you don't, just start experimenting with that. I recently have, because I'm guilty of this too, maybe about 3 years ago. And I've been able to at least I started basic with easy stuff, salads, cucumbers, broccoli, and that stuff has been able to feed my family for months and months. And that has actually cut down my grocery bill because now I don't have to buy those things. So that would be one of the first things. The other thing is buy healthier options that are cheaper. For example, lentils, beans, those are actually really healthy, good, high in fiber, and give us so many nutrients. But don't buy the canned ones because it's easy and quick. If you buy the ones in the bag, they're cheaper and will last longer long term. A lot of these granola and cereal and oatmeals, if you buy the actual oats that you have to cook on the stove, those actually are cheaper and last longer and actually are more healthier. So a lot of it is just being aware of what you can afford. It may take a few more minutes of your time than throwing it in the microwave, but it's cheaper and long term, it'll be better for your body.
No, that's great advice, and I think that should help a lot of our listeners today, especially when it comes to those who are, watching every dollar, and that's a lot of us today. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's important, and of course, like the goal is to eat and live better. So I love
Right.
that. What other ways can we resolve our diet problem? I know I've read treating foods as medicine, right? We talked
Yeah.
about healthy food affordable. What other ways can we do that?
So honestly, a lot of it, so the ones that I mentioned are individual or family things that people can do, but actually resolving the diet problem, just like it started with the government is going to have to step in and kind of help overall improve this. So at our level, the individual level, we can try to choose better, choose healthier options that are better, of
Hmm.
more affordable, kind of learn about that from that standpoint, garden. But from a government standpoint, we really need to fight or advocate for insurance to cover healthy options. Honestly, I think that will help if and we can start using our insurance or our HSA accounts, FSA, whatever people have to buy healthier options and only allow for those options, right? And the insurance is going to cover it. I think programs like WIC should focus on more quality food, not just the amount, right? The cheese, the cereal, because it's cheap and it's bulky. I think they should kind of start switching that focus and do quality of food. So just being able to pick out certain vegetables and certain lentils and high fiber foods, all of those things. And then I also think that in general, and coming from a physician who actually does a lot of lifestyle medicine, there's minimal coverage from an insurance standpoint. And so I think we should also get some coverage for preventative and lifestyle medicine within the insurance, and that's going to have to be a government change.
I agree. I absolutely do agree. So how can we help support that? Do we reach out to those in office, or how can we really help push?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And so even from our standpoint, I'm part of a lot of bigger groups like Lifestyle Medicine, American Medical Association, and a lot of things that we have gotten approved is by advocating, by talking to the local government, talking to our local senators, just and a lot of for coverage. That's what we need to kind of advocate for. That's what we need to fight for. And to be quite honest, that's what we need to demand. We need to demand coverage to be able to eat healthier and therefore in turn be able to live healthier and to live better. And honestly, that will help with our high bills in American healthcare if they just start covering a lot of this stuff for us.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Hamilton, for being here with us today. We really appreciate your input. A lot of really helpful information was shared. Where can we keep up with you if our listeners want to follow you on any kind of social media platform? And of course, where can we get your books?
Yeah, of course, of course. I'm very active on Instagram, Dr. Franchell Hamilton, and that is pretty much my name everywhere: Twitter, LinkedIn, all of the social media platforms. And to get my book, especially the latest re-release, I've written several, but Curiosity is the Best Weight Loss Medicine: Observations from a Bariatric Surgeon. You can go on the website, stoptheregain.com, just like it's spelled. And they're also available on Amazon and all those platforms also.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Hamilton, for being here with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. And thank you for listening to The Weekly Show here on iHeart Radio and 93.9 Light FM, 103.5 Kiss FM, and Rock 95.5. We place this episode and every other episode you may have missed every week on our podcast page. You can search on our free iHeart app. Just search for The Weekly Show and you'll find us there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for supporting, and thank you to our guests and for everyone for always being a part of our community affairs show right here on iHeart Radio. I'm Paulina, and we'll talk to you again next weekend.